Good evening, everyone. We are reaching 2020, and as you can see, PechaKucha is about 20 images, 20 seconds per image, and we begin at 2020. How many of you have already attended a PechaKucha? I know one, two, yeah, quite a number of you. So PechaKucha was born in Tokyo, and PechaKucha in Japanese means simply blah blah. Welcome to this blah blah evening, chit chat. And PechaKucha was born in 2003. My name is Alok Nandi, and I launched PechaKucha in Brussels in 2007. When we launched PechaKucha here, we had 80 cities on the planet. Nowadays, we have 1,350 cities on the planet doing PechaKucha Night. And we are here on PechaKucha Night, volume 70, 70. So Brussels had more than 1,000 speakers. And tonight we are going to have 7 speakers. And where's Tabea? Yeah, cool. So we have been doing this partnership, CPDP and PechaKucha, for quite some years, pre-COVID. Different venues, Aldous Schaerbeek, then another one, and this is the first time that we are here. So welcome everyone. The evening will be mostly in English. We'll have one speaker in French, so it's for you good to be in immersion into French language. And the rule is very simple, 400 seconds, 20 images, 20 seconds per image, and then everything disappears. Of course, speaker, you know that you don't have to click. Everything is automated. And for speaker, you have a feedback screen there on the back, so you don't have to break your neck looking at that screen. The first speaker tonight is Eric Zuckermandl. He's based in Paris, and he's going to spend 400 seconds with us. And then you'll discover the topic on the flow. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Alok.
And the presentation will run speaker after speaker. Are we ready here? Yep, great.
Thank you. I'm not speaking in French, though I'm French. And I want to ask French people, how many languages do you speak? They say 1, French. And you know that. But I say, I have a good news for you. You speak 3 languages. Really? I say, yes, you speak the verbal language, which is French, the vocal language from the voice, and the visual language. And it does import. You see this picture? Nixon, Kennedy in 1960, the first televised presidential debate on TV. Nixon lost, as you know. Kennedy won. But interestingly, at the time, about half of people were listening to the program on radio. Those who listened to the radio preferred Nixon over Kennedy because of what? The verbal and the voice. He had a very good voice, and he was doing very well on radio, but not quite well when it came to the public picture on TV. So this is how Nixon was looking like on radio, where he was nowhere. I mean, I would say, yes, he was there in this mind, in that mind, in this mind. And people loved Nixon. They had a mental image of what Nixon could be. Oh, very handsome person. Yes, because as we've said, we've got the vocal, we've got the verbal, and we've got the visual. And the visual does import, because the visual language has several patois. I would say the posture, there is the facial expressions, the gestures, but also the look, the dress and the grooming. Now look at Nixon. Look how he's looking like on TV. You know, he's leaning on the public stand, whereas Kennedy's beaming with a nice tan. He looks grayish, Nixon. Doesn't work. Didn't work. Because as we've said, those after the poll on TV who saw Nixon, they voted for Kennedy. So what is the relationship between words and visuals? Well, you know this Magritte painting. What is the first thing that comes to mind? Of course, it's not an apple. It's a canvas, it's a painting. No, 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 that's the other way around. Of course it's an apple. Yeah, well, it's just a canvas and a painting, so the visual is important. You know this drawing? Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, The Little Prince? This astronomer from the Ottoman Empire made a huge discovery, so he rushes to Paris to tell his colleagues the wonderful discovery is made. And what happens? Well, you see a clown kind of selling a scientific discovery. Nobody trusted him. How the guy is looking like? Doesn't work. So, because his paraphernalia was not trusted in his four garments, then he was expelled. Years later, he comes back with a formal suit, same kind of suit than the other fellows, and look, they say, wonderful, wonderful discovery. Yeah, but years have been lost for mankind in scientific discoveries. So, you see, words are important and visuals are important, but what's the connection? Most people think words are about definition. A word, a definition, it is what it means. But it's not just that. Words are also sparkling mental images. For example, if I say a red horse and a red car, and a horse. Well, you think about Ferrari, yes, but you may have come up with an image of a Ferrari, but maybe not that one, maybe another one, you see? So, you know the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. But that's true for the opposite. A word is worth 1,000 pictures. So it's very difficult to use the very right word, as we say, mental pictures. You say a tree, everyone knows what is a tree, but how many trees here? What kind of trees? So if I go back to a red car and a horse, what would you see? This? Well, I don't think so. Well, it doesn't look like much like a Ferrari, but red car, yes. Horse, yes. But not what you would have expected. So that's the point. You got the word, but maybe we share the same words, but not quite the same meaning or the same mental picture. Yet I can focus on one specific picture. But what about now the third dimension? The feeling, the life experience. You see, if you see a Ferrari, you may see the same car, but you may not have quite the same feeling. So feeling is very important, because even if I can synchronize people on one specific image, feelings will differ. I ask my students, tell the story to a blind person. Well, they know it's about generation gap, but some would say old person, grandpa, grandma, child, grandson, granddaughter. Who speaks? Who thinks? You see? Who gives the gift? It's the same here. If I talk about my mom, what is a mother? I don't need to give you the definition of mother. But now, what is the mental picture? Your mom. Now I show you my mom. I've got it tattooed on my arm. Show you. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. But just imagine, you think about your mom. Now, what is the feeling about your mom? Well, you may show me a picture from your mom, and I may say, oh, she looks nice. She looks a very nice person. She looks serious, maybe, or she looks like kind. But what I feel will never be what you feel. Never. So that's the point. You see, I give you now a tip. If you want to be, or to play a little bit of the mentalist, you see, we decode words. But if you want to know what people think, if they are aligned, the verbal, the vocal, and the visual, the question is, when someone says something to me, what does the voice say? What does the visual say? Because words could be as meaningful as what a parrot would say. But seeing is believing. What do you see? A parrot? No. Look at closer. It's a painted woman. Look. You see? So sometimes we think that what we see is what we believe, but it's not. See? So can we really communicate with each other? Yes, we can still make it. Don't worry, because I'm married for 40 years with the same woman. And it was wonders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. And as you can guess, Eric is a professor in communication. And so he has been busy reflecting and practicing this with his students. And after Eric, we'll have the next speaker, who's Thècle. And Thècle will bring us into a completely different universe. And of course, you'll get a sense why Thècle will speak in French, because it's about cuisine. And you'll see some fascinating activities. Thècle is a chef. She's a... Blah, 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 blah.
Yes. Bonsoir à tous. Je vais vous faire une petite expérience. Prenez votre main et votre autre main et vous allez tourner en pinçant. Qu'est-ce que vous allez dire? Qu'est-ce que vous allez ressentir? Aïe! Est-ce que vous vous sentez vivant? Et là, lorsque vous regardez cette image, qu'est-ce que vous ressentez? Allez-y. Vivant? Joyeux? Allez-y, hein, vous pouvez dire. Frais? Et là, et si vous écoutiez, ils sont en train de parler. Les légumes ont une vie. Ils ont des espoirs, des peurs, peut-être même de la joie. Et si nous partions à la découverte de ce monde vivant? Dans le monde vivant, le végétal, parfois, ça peut paraître un peu inaccessible, un peu comme ce légume. Mais on peut trouver des clés. Connaître leur psychologie, leur physiologie, ça va nous aider à pouvoir mieux les utiliser, mieux les apprêter. Ils sont tous composés ils ont une composition où il y a tous les mêmes composants. Il y en a 7. Je ne vais pas vous refaire un cours de chimie à ce sujet-là. Mais voilà, comme vous et moi, on est tous différents, mais on a tous une saveur différente. Et ils ont aussi des réactions qui sont uniques. Ces réactions, elles influent la texture, la saveur, l'odeur, et que ça soit en cru, que ce soit en cuit, si l'on prête attention. Est-ce que vous salivez devant? Alors, mon travail consiste à repenser les légumes, repenser le monde végétal. Lorsqu'on taille, lorsqu'on découpe des légumes, la taille va influer sur la saveur, le goût, la texture, même sur la vue. Les cuissons, que ce soit croquant, croustillant, fondant, dégoulinant, tout vient de la manière dont on apprête. Les différents types de cuisson, rôtir, lacto-fermenter, sauter. Et ces saveurs ou ces textures, il faut trouver la balance. Cette balance, on l'obtient aussi, non seulement avec des techniques pour les transformer, mais aussi en goûtant. En goûtant et en comprenant qu'est-ce qui se passe chimiquement parlant à l'intérieur de ces légumes. Donc, les 5 saveurs sont bien présentes. Vous les connaissez tous, l'acide, le sucré, l'amer et le salé avec l'umami. Est-ce que vous connaissez? Ça vous paraît un peu lunaire, comme ce chou? L'umami, c'est ce qui permet vraiment d'augmenter le potentiel de salivage. Saliver avec vos légumes. Et c'est ce que j'explique, c'est vraiment de de comprendre lorsqu'on mange, lorsqu'on goûte, ce que va exprimer les légumes, le plat, l'assiette qu'on va préparer. Et le fait de comprendre cette chimie va nous aider petit à petit à les inclure lorsqu'on les apprête. Donc un peu plus d'acide, un peu plus de gras pour augmenter la gourmandise. Et petit à petit, on va obtenir des résultats bluffants dans la bouche. Et maintenant, on va faire une dernière expérience. Vous allez devoir fermer les yeux et vous allez imaginer. Si vous voulez, vous pouvez imaginer de plonger dans une assiette avec une betterave, cuit avec une cuisson parfaite. Imaginez que vous avez les mêmes sensations que lorsque vous mangez une entrecôte maturée ou que vous mangez un bar en croûte de sel. Quelle est cette sensation ? Qu'est-ce que vous pourriez ressentir de cette betterave ? Un peu de fruité ? Un peu de sucré ? Ou carrément, non, c'est terreux, c'est dégoûtant. Cette attention, c'est ce que j'essaye d'inculquer aux chefs de cuisine, à toutes les équipes de cuisine, en initiant auprès d'eux des formations, en faisant des audits dans les cuisines, en expérimentant par eux-mêmes ce plaisir gustatif. Voilà.
Merci, Thècle. For those of you who are English speaking, you can always connect with her and discover some of her fascinating works. So after this journey into cuisine, we'll jump into another universe, Claudio. Claudio is connected with the CPDP conference, and you have 400 seconds to share your story, though you are still jet-lagged.
Yes, of 9 hours. But follow this slide. I'm going to bring you in a very fast, strange accent story. Be ready. This story is a rant. It's about how artificial intelligence, I will call it AI, is currently being used to kill innocent people, and I'm using the Palestinian battlefield as a reference. I don't think this talk will be controversial in any way, because the option that those death machines are in some way helpful or justifiable is unacceptable. Now, this is Guernica, one of the first examples on how bombing over civilians was used to sow terror and chaos, but actually I want to quote Picasso for another reason. Good artist copy, great artist steal. And the machine that kills human has not been invented in Gaza, but they've been invented during the other war on terror. This is the former NSA executive Michael Hayden that was admitting that yes, they were killing people through metadata. And I mean, what are metadata? How they affect us? How they put us in a kill list? Metadata is data that describe other data. And we can divide metadata in two categories. One is technical metadata, something like my device, my phone, embed some signature in every picture. And the other is attributed metadata. So I speak Italian, I speak in English, I'm in Amsterdam, I'm a tourist. This is attributed as more value in the profiling market. But metadata has also the benefit to let you create a table and list people. And when the metadata is made by surveillance, not all the people have the same kind of assets, value attributed. But at the end of the day, we need to attribute a risk system. If you don't have metadata, but you are surveilling a population, you can still do analysis like that. Because if you just see who talks with whom, you can draft a social graph analysis. And that's a display that all these 10 people talks with XYZ. You know, is a mechanism to understand how is society. Is a mechanism to analysis that is used by social science and by intelligence. In this case, you can see that you attribute a role. a role that maybe is not accurate, but you get a role. I am the leader, I am the doctor, I am someone else. You get a role, and that is something attributed to you. But this attribution is very inaccurate. It's the same mechanism used to suggest your product in Amazon. And how often for you a product in Amazon is actually what you want? And is an algorithm so inaccurate, worthy of put people in a kill list? That is one of the main problems. Lavender has been the project that has been revealed. Some sources inside of the Israeli military force reveal that this exists. Besides that machines are killing people, there are also two additional problems. One, AI is not regulated for military usage. And two, it say that it's making more efficient the war. And therefore, I'm afraid many warlords will try to have theirs. When you have a lot of data, I mean, imagine that I'm surveilling Sicily, the island in Italy, and I have to find all the mafia people. When organized crime is infiltrated in a society, people need to rely on it. And if I have a lot of data, I can find all the correlation and decide who is a collaborative of the mafia or not. AI system works with feedback loop. So the AI is wrong, then you teach to the AI to be better. But you need an external input. If you have unlimited ammunition and you decide who is the target, you don't have an external way to say that this is wrong and correct it. It's a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. Another scary part is that people were targeted during nighttime, like when they were with their family. And I mean, besides that, this is what Lord Voldemort was teaching. Don't kill just your target, but also the family and the relatives. There is also another reason on how locating people works. It can work by using drones that map your phone and then follow your movement. It can map with satellite how the carbon emission show the presence of human hidden in certain location. But then, when they are at home, they stay to be stable and is easier to be targeted. And one of the reasons why it was scaring is that belonging to a certain WhatsApp group was an indicator to make you potential to be killed. And we speculated on, is Meta, Facebook or WhatsApp collaborating with the armies? It's possible, but at the moment I didn't release any kind of transparency report. This is a very dark future horror based on Black Mirror. And that is, I feel, the slow train wreck we are going towards, because we are using totally unreliable technology and putting them ability to decide what to do with people. AI is not like normal software, cannot be open and be scrutinized. AI is in a shade, there are dimensions of openness. And normally we don't have all the access we have with normal software. So we don't have full control of what is happening. But when someone is making a race, is trying to win the race for the AI weapons, do not care about accountability, trustworthiness, biases. It just care to make the next tool. And there are mechanisms to make AI open or AI very closed, and the one in the military is not even here. We don't know what is happening, it's totally unreliable and experimented on people nowadays. Now, I have a bit of a Marie Curie feeling, because a lot of esteem for someone that discovered radiation, but also a bit of sadness because she wasn't unaware of the harm that will cause to her, and she died for it. But we know what are the harms of making a reliable, undeterministic system with weapons, and still we are doing it. The current AI system is what we call garbage in, garbage out. You are taking a lot of data, and more data seems to produce better results, but actually is not reliable. And that's why you should not really trust anything worthy. And deciding for the life of people is really the most irresponsible thing that is happening nowadays. This talk was supposed to talk about shadow banning and Besem Yusuf discovery on ChatGPT, but then I decided it was better to talk about killer robots, but I cannot change the title anymore. But if you want to talk about these topics, stop me the next days.
Thank you, Claudio. And we are moving to the next story now with Eva, who's going to bring us into participatory design. Eva, the floor will be yours in a few seconds.
In a few seconds? Okay, I'm sorry if I sometimes read. Yes. So, hi everyone. I'm Eva, and I'm a designer. And I don't know if there's any other people here who've had a design education, but basically, when you study design, they teach you that you can change the world by creatively intervening in it. And this sounds pretty good. And you know, throughout my education, I was kind of repeatedly told, like, okay, you can change the world. You know, through technologies, through knowledge sharing, through all of these methodologies, yeah, you can make a difference. You can actually build the world of tomorrow. You can design our future. But by the end of sort of my studies, I started to feel pretty disillusioned by this concept of the future. Like, what does this actually mean, design for our future? Who is our, who is us? What futures are we actually designing? It seemed to me that increasingly it was about creating things that were more efficient, more automated. And yeah, actually a lot of the projects that I looked up to when I was a student, they sort of promised to to disrupt, you know, the status quo, to be more sustainable, more social. A lot of them didn't really live up to those expectations and often actually made things worse. So yes, by the end of my studies, me and this concept of the future, we were kind of done. This was a little bit sad for my friend Finn because he actually started getting really into this idea of future, and we later also started a design studio together, so of course I turned back around. But yes, meanwhile, a couple of years later, in the aftermath of COVID, I started going to a lot of queer parties. And basically what happened is that there I started encountering this world where, yeah, actually it started to push kind of these boundaries and my understanding of myself. And it actually led me to reevaluate a lot of different aspects of my life. I also didn't just go to parties, I also started reading a lot of books, looked at arts, music, and through it I started to see like this connection between these themes of like my personal journey and also my work and my design practice. So queer culture is actually really interesting because, yeah, it's actually often very much at the forefront of culture. A lot of queer filmmakers, musicians, writers, they often incorporate these themes of the future in their work. One of these writers is José Esteban Muñoz, and he actually argues that queerness is futures. So he says, queerness is a rejection of the here and now and an insistence on concrete possibility for another world. So to Muñoz, queer modes of being, he actually calls these concrete utopias. So they are basically moments in the present where we can experience the future in the flesh, where we can actually start to touch it and to feel it. So through these concrete utopias, they can actually allow us to come face to face with our fears and kind of start to experience like these other ways of living. Audre Lorde says, we have been raised to fear the yes within ourselves. But once we start to recognize that, yes, those cravings, we can no longer go back and blindly accept the way things are. So this kind of energy, this is exactly the kind of energy that leads people to kind of change their lives. It's also not an accident that many social change movements actually come from oppression. So if a dominant system is kind of disallowing you to express yourself, from that kind of comes this urge to then actually have to create a new system. So what if we actually saw festivals and parties as these like pockets of the future in the present? What about zones of protest? And what if we actually like start looking at these spaces from, yeah, with actually of curiosity instead of with fear, and start to see what kind of futures they propose? So I now think that much of the work of designing the future is less about actually intervening sort of in the world of products or technologies, and is more about creating this infrastructure where we can actually radically start to reimagine what these alternative futures can look like. So what if actually engaging with queer communities and other communities of difference in this way can actually help us to sort of critique the here and now and see how things might be different? So to take an example, what could now I'm ahead of my slides. What could polyamory teach us about how we approach business contracts? In looking at how, what if we let go of these notions of ownership and a sense of security that we don't actually question in these kind of relationships and contracts very often? This is actually a conversation I had about 2 weeks ago. And also, what if we approach ourselves with the same curiosity? So what if we look within ourselves and we start to think about, okay, what are actually the parts of ourselves that are maybe different or weird or queer and that the world doesn't really yet value? And what can that show us about, how things might be different? So these are now sort of central questions in my design practice. We kind of believe that one of the key ingredients of actually accelerating change towards more sustainable and equitable societies is about sort of stretching this imagination, stretching what we actually think is possible and actually seeing that it's possible. How can we create that space to collectively imagine a world that's radically different? And also, how can those visions, often also coming from different place-based imaginations, how can they actually then start to influence change and influence decision-making? Those are the kind of themes that we work on. So, in conclusion, I don't think we don't have to be passive to the technologies like AI. I think we can actually really reimagine and decide what role technology has in our lives. We have agency on that, and we don't have to accept the world as it is. The future is already here, and it's also already within us. Thank you.
Thanks, Eva. The future is already here, and now we'll move to another scale of design with Karel. So Karel is based in Belgium, but he works in many places, and you'll have 400 seconds to bring us into another scape of design.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. I'd like to talk about these things, these leaflets you get with medicine boxes. Most of the time, most people will get ill during their lives and have to use some medicines. Some people are unlucky and have to use medicines all the time for the rest of their lives, every day. I've been interviewing patients for about 30 years now. I did my PhD in England on the design of these leaflets. And I've been listening to patients for about 30 years in these environments where I just ask patients, what's it about? What is this leaflet about? What can you actually tell me about it? And do you understand it? Do you understand the instructions? So I will show you some examples. This is a very simple medicine box in the UK. It's ibuprofen, 200 milligrams. It's the cheapest of the cheapest medicine. It's the safest of the safest. It has been around for a few hundred years, for a few decades. The design of this box is okay from the outside, but if you look at the back of the box, all the typographical rules that we learned in design schools are completely avoided. It's condensed type, it's black type on a grey background. The background is reflective. There's no interline spacing, and there's big braille dots pushed through the text. That makes it really difficult to read this text. Why did the designer actually do this? I'll let you look at this picture. It's not only patients, it's also pharmacists. Pharmacists have to distinguish between these boxes all the time. Can you see the difference between the two? At first sight, in a busy pharmacy, when there's lots of phones ringing and there's a queue of people waiting. Most pharmacy boxes can be very easily be confused. A helpful pharmacist writes the instructions for medicines on the medicine box. This written instruction tells you exactly how many tablets to take and when to take them. Can anybody help me here? It's absolutely impossible. The boxes are not made to write on. The plastic is not good enough, and the ballpoint pens are not good enough. In the last few years, we've sealed all medicine boxes in Europe with a bit of plastic tape. It's called tamper-evident. You can be absolutely sure that if the tape is there, that the medicine is correct and is original. Most electronics have that as well. But elderly people can't see that tape and have struggled to open it. They struggle to use a knife or they need to use scissors. The same with the package leaflet that's inside. They have to use a knife or a pair of scissors to open the package leaflet to get to the information. And when they actually open the package leaflet and try to read the information, they see things like this. Come on. The maximum single daily dose for adults should be not greater than 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, okay? Second sentence, the recommended dose is 1200 to 1800 milligram daily divided in doses. This has been approved by the European Medicines Agency. It's absolutely incomprehensible. This medicine should have been taken off the market. This is a leaflet by one of my students in Luzern. She's got ADHD, attention deficiency. The chance that she reads this leaflet is absolutely zero. Every time, every month, she throws this leaflet away because she simply cannot read it. It's not appropriate for her. She can't use it. We're all familiar with the COVID tests. I'll get to your beer if you can explain me what these eight symbols mean. The European legislation very clearly states that information needs to be understandable and comprehensible, or else you don't get the CE mark at the end. These COVID tests should not have been in Europe at all. They should not have been allowed. But when you get serious disease, like breast cancer, it's even worse. This is the only information you get in a very expensive private clinic in Brussels for if you get a chemotherapy. You can't even tell which medicine it is. It's awful. It's absolutely disgusting that ladies get this. I'll give another example of an insulin patient, or a patient with diabetes type 1. This girl, 30 years old, Delft University, graduate, PhD there, very brave, very clever girl, has to inject herself with insulin every day, a few times. And she can do that very happily. But this is her kitchen table. On her kitchen table, there's a complete mess of packaging, labels, insulin pens, all sorts of instructions in needles and pouches and all sorts of stuff. She is the only one in the world who can actually see what she has to take when she go out with her. Nobody else in this room can actually take the stuff that she needs. And if you had looked at the bottom corner, there's a plastic case like this. When the insulin level drops, or when the blood sugar levels drop too low, patients with insulin type faint. And there's a syringe in this box that you need to dilute and inject into a patient. This is how the box looks. This is a life-saving medicine. If somebody faints in this room with diabetes, I've got to administer this medicine immediately, or else her liver and her kidneys go immediately. This is what we give to her. That's insane. This should not be on the market at all. It's dangerous. It does not save lives at all. This is a patient about 30 years old, COPD, so she's got a very heavy asthma. She can't breathe, she doesn't get any air. And this is the stuff that she has to take to work every day. When she takes her medicines correctly, she runs marathons. When she doesn't take her medicines correctly, she ends up in hospital. And this is the information that we give her. It's Italian box, it's parallel import, it is a label of the pharmacy, and the label of the pharmacy actually says inhalation via the mouth. What's the alternative for an inhaler? Which other orifice do you put your inhaler in? Why is that instruction there? It's an insulting thing. So I've been asking patients for the last few decades, how do you want your information? And their answer is, on my phone. And the answer is not like these leaflets, not like this rubbish on the floor. They want to have decent information. And at the moment, the European legislation is being reconsidered. And unfortunately, package leaflets will stay like this for the next 30 years. Nobody cares about these leaflets. We produce between 5 and 15 billion of these leaflets every year for the bin. Nobody reads them. I'm sad. Thank you.
Thank you, Karel. So you've seen through the evening the diversity of stories, ranging from communication design to graphic design for the medical sector, and many questions. We'll move with the next PechaKucha with Gema. And Gema will continue to push her and push ourselves in few seconds.
Thank you so much. Sure. Hi, I will talk about mental health and systems and data privacy. I will introduce myself a little bit at the beginning. I'm a clinical psychologist. My research was, I came to technology by so random situation. I never wanted to be in technology, but I started my PhD doing the study of, with an avatar of the study of a creative orchestra on Second Life. And then I started there like trying to understand what was not having like a body and trying to see what were the relationships with others through an avatar. Then I moved to artificial emotions. So random, a professor that I have asked me to develop the algorithm of happiness. I thought that was like totally impossible, but, and by the way, I prefer the algorithm of calm. But that's why I started to do like any kind of like models regarding technology and mental health systems. Why connected to that, it is like I realized that I had like experience in academia, but also like in the industry, in the detection of digital healthcare or digital or healthcare of the future. And I just realized that most of the companies have personal data of the people and that we're doing inferences and diagnostic of people. So my objective here, and like usually my research, is like trying to, first of all, trying to see about the rights about these technologies and these neurotechnologies, that neurotechnology is the next hype that we will have, and the biodata for predicting data of ourselves that, by the way, we already have with the virtual reality glasses and the new devices that they want to use, that they want to control everything regarding like the, how do you say, like brain waves. So regarding these topics, it's about rights and efficiency. Okay, my slide is, so I will move for the next one. What kind of information will be really needed in an hypothetical situation? So most of the mental health pathologies that I have been working with, they don't really care about having a monitorized system that take care of them. They really want to talk with a professional, and they really want to talk with a friend in a really emergency situation. So what kind of tools exist or are on trial right now? Monitorization, emergency when something is really happening with a psychotic, for example, episode, and prevention detection, that this is the one that is like not really working. Will it help the patient, the user? Not really. It's not really helping. The only thing that is helping is about like the alarms for the medication, and this is no AI involved. So are the bias associated with that? Yes, regarding psychiatry and regarding psychology. Most of the cases, like for psychology and psychiatry, we use a book that is called the DSM. We are going from the number 5, the DSM-5. Just to let you know, homosexuality was removed for being a pathology in 1987. So these are some kind of books that some people are using to upload in these kind of apps. So pathologies are much more complex than a linear database. This is going like super quickly. So can AI predict the future? No. For complex systems, it can predict just patterns or tendencies. And this is much less that we deal with when we are having any kind of pathology or situation. So if most marketing is based on predictions, what is going to be the next thing regarding like mental health? Mental health will be based on predicting mental health issues for advertising and giving different kinds of medication, treatment, etc. that are really going to be connected with companies regarding the money that they will be. So what are the consequences of that? Our behaviors could be also like manipulated or adapt. We also know that depending on the tool, we will create different kinds of behaviors. And also like our thoughts and our behaviors sometimes, most of the time, by the way, are not connected. So what we are measuring, it is not what our really desires. Also, there is no possibility of change if we think about that. So this is one of the examples. This is like one of the applications that is like really based on diagnosed depression. I don't know what is like the aim of that, by the way, and what are the consequences if you just read that you have depression. This is the same thing that we do when we just check Google every time that we want to find a symptom or when we deal with something. And this is another example of a company that wants to give the patient to the data. The story of this company is like, for me, it is really interesting because it's really based on personal needs. The person that created the company couldn't find a treatment for his child because it was a rare pathology. So what he did, it is like he searched on ChatGPT what was the best medication, and he gave that medication. And for me, that's like really amazing because like ChatGPT and OpenAI is not research-based, it's not knowledge-based, it's language. So at the end, it is like we are really blaming the professionals just to check the technical and all the technology that is not really like, is by the way based on that. So should we give the data to the people? Should we give free access to important data? Everything, by the way, that can be formulated, it is something that, for example, my model of emotions also can be done. So if it's formulated, it is possible somehow. Even if though this is not, this has anything to do with accuracy. So what can we do, what AI can do for us versus for what we are doing that is one of the main questions that I ask myself a lot. And also like trying to understand how this tech works is so important to see what are the limits of these kind of technologies that we are doing. So one of the things that I observe, and I'm a professor, one of the things that I am observing of my students is like they are giving me the same assignment, just copy paste from ChatGPT with any kind of critical thinking and any kind of different ways of understanding reality. We really need to think about we are much more than a base and an amount of data, numbers, or labels. Thank you.
Thank you, Gema. We already had 6 stories tonight, and we'll move with the 7th one, Arjon. And that will put you into another sphere. And after that, we'll have a kind of techno experiment where we'll have a PechaKucha from someone who is in the UK, and she will be zooming in. And so we hope with the technical team that it will work. Arjon, are you ready? Oh. You need a special table?
No.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thirsty halfway. Then.
Okay. When you're ready, you tell me.
I will drink something. Hello, my name is Arjon Dunnewind, and I'm here to present Code and Turning Tables. 2 projects that I'm working on for Impact and Arts Organization in the Netherlands. And Code is a co-creation, awareness and dialogue project aimed at improving our digital rights and the agency that we have over the services and devices that we use every day and that we're very dependent on. The word code refers to a code of digital ethics that we want to discuss. With partners like Werktank and the CPDP, we bring together artists, non-artists, to work in groups to produce installations, videos, interventions, and other kinds of art projects that discuss digital agency. And to improve our digital rights, we feel we need to also work on political change and discuss how stronger legislation can help on local, national, and European levels. And for this, we organize interviews, panels, discussions with policymakers. And to get the conversation going among the general audience and with politicians, we also developed a game, a special card deck that can serve as a conversation starter. It's called Turning Tables, and with the game you can turn the tables and change big tech into fair tech. And the Turning Tables card deck looks like any ordinary deck of cards. It has aces, kings, queens and jacks, but instead of the power structures of medieval times, the cards and turning tables reproduce the power structures of the world that we live in today. Amazon, Facebook, Apple and Google, sponsors of the CPDP, the aces of big tech reign supreme. These companies have more wealth and power than any average country. The information on the cards show how wealthy these companies are, and their value is increasing as I'm speaking. Their CEOs are the kings in turning tables. They are among the richest people on earth. They can shoot themselves into orbit as a hobby. Where a king in a normal card deck would hold a sword, here we see Jeff Bezos holding his dildo-shaped rocket. The highest ranking women in big tech are the queens. They earn millions, but their net worth still often is less than 1% than the value of their male bosses. And you can see here that in the suits of the cards, our designers played around with the logos of these big tech companies. The jacks are the subsidiary companies. They are the smaller companies that reside under the 4 big tech aces. Most people don't know that they're actually owned by Apple, Amazon, Google and Facebook. Shazam, for instance, is owned by Apple. And of course, you know that Facebook bought Instagram when they saw its own popularity decreasing. Look at the Jack cards and you can see the strategies of big tech at work. Google wants to be leading in artificial intelligence, so they bought the AI startup DeepMind. The top end of the turning tables card deck shows the people who currently have the money and the power in our world. Mark Zuckerberg's personal worth is $67 billion, and we think that deserves a thumbs down. But turning tables also shows you the other side of the tech industry. The cards with a value of 2 and 3 and 4 are people who also work for big tech. It's just that they're not making as much money as Tim Cook and Jeff Bezos. Meet Jung Mai. She's a Chinese factory worker working 60 hours a week, assembling gadgets for Amazon. She earns just a few dollars a day and has to ask for permission to go to the toilet. Another 2 card in the deck shows an Indian contract worker with irregular hours working for a low wage. And here we see Thomas Le Boniek. In Ireland, Apple whistleblower Thomas Le Boniek revealed how Apple was illegally using recordings of their customers made by the Siri app. The value 4 cards, that's us, the average user of big tech and their products, and we provide the data that make Google, Facebook, Amazon and Apple rich, while they do everything to avoid paying taxes through complicated schemes developed by expensive lawyers. Turning Tables highlights the least privileged people working in the big tech industry. We make the invisible visible and tell you about the scandals that big tech would like to keep hidden. We put the crowns on the heads of the people that most deserve it, like in this card, Daniel Motong, a Facebook whistleblower. But there's more. With Turning Tables, you can turn the big tech world upside down. You can help a worker in an Indian iPhone factory to beat Mark Zuckerberg. And you can make a whistleblower trump Jeff Bezos. For this, Turning Tables has 12 good joker cards, inspiring critics, helping us to imagine a world where big tech turns into fair tech. If you play a good joker, the 2, 3 and 4 cards become more valuable than the aces, kings, queens and jacks. But the game also has some bad jokers: defeatism, division, convenience and ignorance. Play these cards and the big tech gets the upper hand again. But if you play your good jokers wisely, fair tech will finally win. Turning Tables is a great conversation starter to discuss digital rights and to imagine how we can turn big tech into fair tech. And you can buy Turning Tables here at the Pecha Kucha if you want, or at the CPDP. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Arjon. Thanks to all the speakers. We'll move to the experimental version 1 with Freya zooming in from UK. Freya, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Great. So you are owning now the tech deck, and you have 400 seconds. So we hope that everything will run smoothly. Are you ready to jump in? Audience?
I am, yes.
Okay, good.
Hi, everyone. I'm not actually in the UK. I'm actually in Sao Paulo, in Brazil. So a bit further away, but
so
still very good.
Your email address was leading me to UK. Sorry for that.
It was. No. That's my mistake. I do get around a lot.
Okay.
So thanks for allowing me to zoom in. So my name is Freya van der Boom, and I'd like to talk a little bit about my work. It's a bit, well, some of the topics that I'll be discussing have already been talked about, but I'll be really quick. So, playing with the trouble. What if in the next year or so, you would receive an email that says, hey, sorry about this, but CPDP got cancelled. Dear community, we regret to inform you our future sessions are going to be cancelled. So this would probably make you think, what are these recent developments in the field of AI that would cause our conference to be cancelled? Like I said, I'm doing speculative legal design and AI futures research. So I'm interested in how laws fail. So I'm interested in future AI laws. And indeed, how can we imagine better laws to make sure that what we get and the way we govern AI doesn't fail?
Freya, we don't see your images. Sorry to...
Oh, okay. Well, I am sharing my screen, no?
You are hacking the system by not showing your images, are you?
I was not aware that I did. The host has disabled my screen share.
Oh. Arjon,
So
can we
host-
turn the table there?
And now I am the host. That's better.
So you'll have to reboot
I'll
your
try
story.
it again. Yes. All right. Here we go again.
That's the Freya trick to gain 40 seconds.
How much? 40 seconds?
Yep.
Slideshow, play from start. Don't need to look all over at this. So, like I said, what if you would receive this email saying, hey, CPDP is cancelled? What could possibly go wrong with AI? That's kind of the questions that I'm trying to raise through my practice. And my practice is now combining speculative design and future studies together with social legal research. Because I think we have a lack of imagination and we really need to inspire people to think more about what could possibly go wrong, but also to invite new perspectives to let us think about what could possibly go right and how do we get there. So, what could possibly go wrong? When we have no diversity in the teams that are creating the AI or making decisions about whether, when, or how to govern. What could possibly go wrong? When we have indeed these developers making these tools and then selling them all over the world to different communities and different societies. What could possibly go wrong? AI law, what could possibly go wrong? And well, maybe in the future, you are a robot and you would like to access this website, but you're not allowed to because we have these capture terms. What could possibly go wrong with law? Well, you might have more and more all of these AI-enabled devices within your body without the right to repair or the right to access data. This is going to be a little bit tricky if there's something goes wrong. So this brings me to playing with the trouble. What I'm doing right now is to provoke people to think differently about what could possibly go wrong. I'm not the only one. There are more people who are interested in doing speculative design. So imagining possible futures and then provoke people to think a bit more. So what could possibly go wrong goes into what could possibly go right. More humans becoming obsolete by 2030 because we don't have access to the devices in our bodies. We will end up like the machines that we have these days who have planned obsolescence. What could possibly go right? Well, we probably need to have more people involved in the development of these tools and these devices. So what do? We look at how they are developing these things, patent applications, for example, and we see where do we need to put in our own experience. So you might have heard about the apocalypse, I think it was, from the Roomba, where you come home and your Roomba has decided to smear the poop all over the floor. What could possibly go wrong with technology? What could possibly go right? So in the Rights campaign. A couple of years ago, I actually founded this robot party, one of the first political robot parties back then, because I thought, you know what, we have made so many mistakes in the history. Let's not do this again when actually we will have AGI. And this was already a couple of years ago. We were not as far as we are these days. I even made buttons, and I thought this is really going to be momentum. I'm going to be super amazingly fantastic with my party, and I'm actually going to have true equality for each and every one of us, all of our human and AI intelligence. This is what happened when I started my campaign. Nobody showed up. So, okay. step back, what do I do now? With every future we wish to create, we must first learn to imagine it. So I guess I wasn't really focusing on how to imagine a better future more radically. Meaning that I made a manifesto. I made a manifesto telling people it's radically time to have a society that is much more equal than it is right now. So I founded actually a state, the nation state of Glitch. It's actually a state you can join us. You can apply for digital citizenship, dual citizenship even, and you can become a member of this city-state, which is pretty amazing because it's the first state in the entire universe, in the entire world, I can't speak for the universe, sorry, that has really true equality. But we need to get together, so I need to have more people to join me to actually develop all of the laws and the regulations that we need if we do decide that we need them, because that's, of course, is up for grabs. Very nice. The UN has welcomed us as the state of Glitch as the 194th member state. If you want to know how to start your own state, contact me because it's actually deceptively easy. The only tricky part is getting recognition. I mean, we have some examples with countries who haven't even been recognized as a state, but mine has. Okay, so what AI futures do we want? I'm not the only one who has ideas about the future. I want to talk to other people about what kind of futures they want. Because we need to have cultural diversity. We have different values, different norms, different ideas. So we also could invite all of these people to get together and to think about what are the futures that we want. So I'm doing these workshops all over the world, actually. That's also why I'm in Brazil at the moment. I'm asking people. So let's imagine you wake up in the year 2045 or 2050, a couple of years from now, and you look around. What kind of society would you want to live in? Look at what is happening in society at the moment. What are these developments that you fear, and what are these developments that you hope will happen in the future? So I'm asking people to create AI charms, things that can protect them, things that go wrong, but also things that can stimulate them to go right. So I made a few for myself, of course. So I'm pretty scared of surveillance, so I kind of made a charm to be invisible for drone surveillance. I'm also not really happy about dick pics, so I kind of made a charm to protect me against dick pics online. So this is what the future is going to look like, right? It's going to be beautiful, it's going to be pretty, it's going to be very, very clean. Okay, so what do people do then? Because people, of course, are very worried about their jobs. Well, if you lose your job and everyone's been taken care of, you might be able to become this Zen sculpture solver, the endless sculptor. All you have to do is click blossoms all day. What AI futures do we want? I'm almost through my time. I was thinking about the other day, somebody was saying we're pretty close to mind upload. So we will be able to have ourselves in a digital form, and then, then what? I kind of started thinking, what would I do at that moment, right? I mean, the moment when you get this notice, hey, your mind upload is successful. What do you want? Do you wish to continue in your biological form or transition to your digital existence? The definition of it. Imagine that. You're standing there. This is me. That is me. That's the perfect me. Do I agree? I take a deep breath. I choose. Of course, we need to have legal boundaries and protect people against things that might go wrong during your upload. Because, I mean, we all know when computers can fail. I mean, my Zoom thing usually falls out when I'm in the middle of a discussion. So we need to have an end-user agreement. What's going to happen with your data? What's going to happen with your digital format? And of course, you need to consent. So, would you? Little sneak peek. The previous speaker talked about games. I'm also making a game. It's called Exploding AI. So I'd love to get people all involved and play it with me. And that's it. That's me. Speculative legal design, AI futures research. I'd love to connect with people, and I hope that that this went through away.
Thank you, Freya. Freya, you'll miss.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and enjoy Sao Paulo. and you'll miss the wine and the beer here, because PechaKucha is about stories, conversations, networking. So thank you to all the speakers.
I know.
And Freya, you are welcome to Brussels and do a PechaKucha in real life. And now we'll go and have a glass of wine.
Okay. Enjoy.
Tabea, thanks for co-organizing this with us. Freya, enjoy Sao Paulo, and every one of you here, welcome to network and enjoy PechaKucha, 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 which means blah, 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 blah. It's your time. Have a good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending this PechaKucha. Thanks to all the speakers. And thank you to the technical team and Tabea for making sure that everything runs smooth. Thanks. Good evening.